make this the last. Also, very special thank you to Tani, who is joining me here today, who's going to keep the conversation flowing. Tani is a land acquisition manager with Woodside Homes. She is a member of the BIAA's leadership program, Build, and as of yesterday, my new best friend. So Tani Fessler, everybody.
Thank you for having me. I live in El Dorado Hills and I think it's a fantastic place to live. So I'm excited to be able to ask questions of Vance and find out more about what's going on. And then I can end up adding in probably a little bit here and there too. So going through, I think probably the best way to take this conversation is to start with covering like what does El Dorado County cover? What's that area? And then we can kind of hone in and go from county down into El Dorado Hills.
Yeah, so El Dorado County, of course, just kind of northeast of Sacramento County, very rural areas. El Dorado Hills is kind of the lowest geographic portion of it. It borders Sacramento County, borders the city of Folsom. Exactly. If you blink, you'll not realize that you drove from Folsom to El Dorado Hills along 50. And of course, El Dorado County goes all the way up to the border with Lake Tahoe, which is its own special little jurisdiction, really, within the county. So there's really those are the main two cities within El Dorado County is Tahoe and Placerville, which is right there in the middle. And then El Dorado Hills is, of course, an unincorporated part of the county. It's not its own city. It has no official governing structure within itself. So they are subject to all of the governing of the county itself. Yeah.
So going from that, I guess, knowing that it's unincorporated, who are the governing bodies for El Dorado Hills?
So first and foremost would be the County Board of Supervisors. That is a five-member body elected from five districts within the county. El Dorado Hills, interestingly, is split between two different supervisorial districts. So they are represented by Supervisors Hydal and Turnbull, at least until the next election cycle. And then that is, of course, the overarching governing structure. But then you go a little bit lower, and we have, of course, a lot of local municipal bodies like the El Dorado Hills Fire District, the El Dorado Hills CSD, which, Tani, I know you are the expert on. And then, of course, things like the irrigation district and all these smaller districts that are able to chime in on what happens in that jurisdiction. But the ones that we deal with the most are definitely the County Board of Supervisors, the fire district is a huge one, and then the CSD, which if you want to touch on that one, Tani, I'll definitely throw that over to you.
All right, so I can give a little background on the CSD. So the CSD is a special district. Special districts can cover a lot of various things, like from mosquito and vector to cemeteries, irrigation. But the El Dorado Hills CSD primarily focuses on parks and recreation. Not too many people know that they also do franchise agreements with Comcast for communications, and they have an agreement with Waste Management for trash service. They also have lease agreements for cell towers, and they're one of the few districts that actually have authority to enforce CC&Rs. So that's a piece of what they do there. The way that they end up having funding is primarily through a percentage of property tax that comes in from the El Dorado Hills residents, as well as park impact fees, which for developers and home builders we're very familiar with. And additionally, they also have several landscape lighting assessment districts and CFDs that are formed to also provide funding. So they comes in from various sources, and it helps end up providing the public parks to El Dorado Hills and provide the services that they give for recreation.
Also a bit of a source of a headache, right, for the home building community, as they tend to be very involved with what they want to see built within El Dorado Hills. They tend to get into lovely legal battles with some of our developments. And if you go all the way back to my second day on the job, right, Tani, that is the day that you and I almost met for the first time, as I was at the El Dorado County Board of Supervisors meeting to fight a fee on ADUs that was being proposed by the CSD. that you technically worked there at the time, but now you've come over to the light side.
Yes, it was something that, so for park impact fees, the CSD ends up having to go to the county because the county is the authority body that ends up collecting the fee and then distributes to the CSD. So one of the items that CSD is always looking for ways to be able to have more funding come in to be able to provide for the services. So thinking that they could add a fee onto accessory dwelling units was something that, yes, I had to present at the county, and did not stand up when Vance spoke.
I was just so convincing.
So yeah, but no, so that's a little bit about the CSD, but how about the fire district? If you can go into a little bit about the fire district.
Yeah, so the fire district has definitely been one of the more in one of the more active bodies that we've had to engage with over the last several months. And this, of course, comes from the fact that El Dorado Hills, El Dorado County in general, is part of a high risk fire area. And that's declared by the state. But the state will declare what these high risk areas are. They release updated maps frequently on this. So the fire district has the authority to kind of determine how much they want to do in order to promote fire safe communities. Recently, for them, this meant going in and kind of going beyond state regulations and really going excessive on the requirements for a defensible perimeter around individual homes. They are dictating the types of materials that can be used, everything from windows to fences. And that came as kind of a surprise to the home building community. They were really dug in on that issue, and we've been engaging with them pretty consistently. We had several meetings with the fire district on that one, but it's not something they were really willing to back down on. They're also starting to implement another policy coming down from the state, which is essentially requiring, I think it's everything within 5 feet of the home needs to basically not be conducive to spreading embers if there is a fire. So this means when it comes to landscaping, they're saying within 5 feet of a home, you got to pull out all of the bark that you may have around the perimeter, bushes, things like that, and it has to be part of that defensible space. This is an interesting one because it's being implemented in a retroactive way. So they're having to work not only with home builders to look at their landscaping plans and ensure that home builders are meeting those requirements, but they're also having to work with like HOAs to go and tell the existing homeowners that they have to go in and change their landscaping, pull out bark, put in rocks type of thing. Fortunately, we've had, I think, despite not really being able to get all the progress we want with them, we've had a decent relationship with the fire district. They've been attending our El Dorado builder developer councils, which are the fourth Wednesday of every month, if anyone wants to get involved with those. So we have an open dialogue going with them pretty consistently. The challenge with them mostly is they're understaffed and not really have all the funding they need. So they have so much ability to determine what moves forward in all of our members' projects that they can really hold up the process.
It's okay. I was just curious because CSD has certain enforcement authority with CCNRs and things like that. If the fire district was leaning on the CSD for any type of assistance with that, or if if it's went that direction.
Oh, not that I've seen, no. At this point, I haven't really dealt with anything that involves both the fire district and the CSD at the same time.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see how that goes because there's a lot of El Dorado Hills is developed, but there's a lot of oak trees and open space, and it probably affects just about everybody in El Dorado Hills to some degree.
Definitely. Can't talk about a hot topic without talking about fire when it comes to
Right.
El Dorado.
So I wanted to kind of just shift gears a little bit from the fire district and kind of talk about more the culture of El Dorado Hills and what that means and how it relates to the residential and commercial development that tries to come into El Dorado Hills. Can you kind of elaborate on what you see happening with that?
Yeah, so El Dorado Hills is really kind of an epicenter for a NIMBY mentality. I'm sure everyone on here knows NIMBY, but if not, it's not in my backyard. It's the culture of not wanting to see new growth, no new homes, no new businesses, even in the case of El Dorado Hills. And this is really just kind of a territorial mentality of, individuals liking their community the way that it is and really getting involved in government to kind of stop or slow growth however they can. And, I think this is something that we see with the CSD when, new homes are being proposed on a golf course that is not being used, and the CSD tries to step in and really even take control of that land to say we want this to be what we want this to be. And that has really serious implications, not just for our builders who are trying to, come in and provide the community the growth it needs, but long term, an anti-growth mentality can hurt the community, right? It's going to prevent them from bringing in new individuals who can support the businesses, who can bring children to enroll in the schools. And El Dorado Hills has this dream of one day being its own city. They've attempted to become incorporated in the past, but without a strong enough tax base, they really can't support themselves. And you can't build a strong tax base without growth. I forget who it was who said it recently, but someone at a meeting I was at said, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's really the case. And it's not just specific to El Dorado Hills, El Dorado County in general, being a more rural county, really doesn't like to see big growth, right? Small towns like to stay small towns, but every county in California is required to have an housing element in their general plan to address the housing needs of their communities. And this is something that El Dorado County had the state come down on them for not meeting that requirement. So it's something the county has technically worked on. It's something that exists within their general plan. But one of the things they really need to address is their affordable housing needs. And this is another thing that you and I talked about that happened on that day that we were there for that ADU. May of last year, the Board of Supervisors discussed the needs for affordable housing in the county. Staff was directed to create an affordable housing task force. Within 6 months was what they said. That task force needed to include, they said, the BIA and members of the housing community. And here we are, a year and a half later, and there is no affordable housing task force. I got an email a couple months ago asking me to participate, and I said absolutely. And there's been nothing since then. So it's this NIMBY mentality is not just contained within El Dorado Hills. It's very strong there, right? It has a community of retirees and active adults who stay active by fighting growth, essentially. But it's also not getting the pushback from the county that it should to promote the growth that it needs.
So how do you feel with the way that El Dorado Hills is, knowing that the main development that's coming in is builders or land developers are looking at focusing on El Dorado Hills? There really isn't much opportunity in Tahoe. Placerville is a city. So where are you seeing any type of movement? It's not sounding like it with the county to kind of push El Dorado Hills to try to be one of those locations where affordable housing is looking to be used to help meet those numbers.
Definitely not seeing a strong push from the county, no. And you have that dynamic again where El Dorado Hills is represented by two members of the Board of Supervisors, right? So if this 5-member body is trying to debate on where they're going to make a push for affordable housing to go in, I don't think you're going to see those two members really be the driving factor, right? That's 2 votes on that board, which isn't a majority, but then you just need one more. So you're going to have everyone kind of saying, yes, we need affordable housing, but not in my backyard. Let's build it over here. Let's build it over there. And that's 2 voices, 2 voices on the board saying that, maybe we should put it somewhere else.
Right. So I do see a question came in from Tyler that said, are there any standout bills the state has signed into law that you are aware of or that you're tracking?
So Tyler, there is not anything specific at the state level that I am tracking. We are really fortunate to have a great structure for the housing community in terms of advocacy and representation, in that we have the California Building Industry Association, who really takes the lead on all of our state level issues. They've also been a great help to us, though, when even when dealing with the El Dorado Hills Fire Department specifically, because if El Dorado Hills Fire Department is implementing state regulations, it's great to have that assist from the CBIA to help us kind of find specific laws or regulations, or even bring in folks from state agencies who can help us navigate that. There was actually an effort that predated my time with the BIA, where El Dorado Hills Fire worked directly with CBIA to create a regulations for fire safe communities that basically said a master plan community could have, I think it was a 30-foot defensible space around the perimeter of the entire community, that would then basically exempt them from having to have such excessive defensible space requirements around individual structures. That's a really long way of saying no. There's nothing I'm tracking specifically at the state at this time. I know the issue of fire maps is something that our state association is engaging very heavily on right now, because the fire maps could use better information to identify at-risk communities. They were using data from like the 90s to determine what a high-risk community was. And if you look at a bunch of trees on a map from 1990, a lot of them may not be there anymore and probably don't need to be factored into the risk.
We had one other question come in from Brendan, which is the EDH housing element out. Is the EDH housing element out of compliance? And are you aware if anyone has filed builder remedy projects?
So to my knowledge, the housing element is fully in compliance now. I believe it was just last year that they brought it back into compliance. They were really missing that affordable housing element. And I forget exactly how they were out of compliance, but they've brought it back into line. But no, I'm also not aware of any builders remedies projects that have been filed.
Wanted to know if there's any other specific issues that the BIA is addressing now that would affect, say, El Dorado Hills or El Dorado County, or the area in general that you cover.
Uh, in general, we are kind of having this fight in all jurisdictions, not all jurisdictions, but the topic of inclusionary zoning is something that's been discussed in all of our jurisdictions. And it's a really big fight in the city of Sacramento right now. Chris Norm is leading that fight with a lot of our members who are really active. But it's something that we always worry about, because we know it doesn't work. We know that politicians like that the way it sounds. It sounds like this great solution to affordable housing. And when things get adopted in the city of Sacramento, they tend to trickle out into the areas. So as El Dorado County is looking to, address their affordable housing needs, I've already heard at least one member of the Board of Supervisors use the word inclusionary zoning. And I don't think they really understood what they were saying when they said it, and it hasn't gained momentum. But it's something that we have to stay on top of, because they do have that need for affordable housing. And if they can, address it through basically making people think that they're addressing it, we don't want them to do that. So that is something to be on the lookout for. And then always, fees are on the rise, right? All those impact fees, permit fees, whatever. So the county's also in the process of updating a lot of their fees. It's not in the worst way. They've been losing money on permit processing and all of that for years. So they're finally just trying to get to cost recovery, and we're working with them to make sure that that is done in a way that's not, doesn't come with a lot of sticker shock. If you go from 32% cost recovery to 100% overnight, builders are going to feel that, and we kind of want to slow that process.
So Jim just sent over a question. I'm not sure if we have a lot of information, but He's asking if we have an update on the EDH Cityhood Drive, which
Yeah.
I'll
So,
turn to you, Vance, because I don't have anything additional to add on that
Sonny, you live there. You don't know
one.
if it's going to be a city or not?
I personally, as a resident, have not seen anything come through that's whether it's like accepted like in the CSD mailer, but I know that the CSD was kind of trying to take a charge at going after that effort to see what the community would like to see. But since then, I have not seen anything really pushing forward that's making the whole community aware of what the effort is.
And so I'll just echo what Tawny said. Really haven't seen any updates there. A lot of that driving force would come from the CSD as the most organized body within El Dorado Hills, and I haven't seen anything as of late.
Thanks.
Of course.
Thank you very much, Vance. Vance is always available for anything that y'all have going on within that Highway 50 corridor and down into Elk Grove, and then also specific to El Dorado Hills. He's your guy. And then Tawny, we really appreciate your time this morning and you working on your questions and getting this conversation going. And congratulations to you on your involvement in our leadership development group build too. Excited for you. And then I would like to say thank you to our sponsors again. And I'd like to give y'all a couple seconds to say who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Bennett from Dorado Development Consultants. We're a full service land development consulting firm, specializing in doing a lot of cost estimates and land development. Fee analysis, we're always tracking the fees that are changing Northern California and Southern California, as well as construction management and the CFD management, bond exoneration, and project closeouts.
Great. Thank you very much, Tyler. And then I'd like to ask Philip Roberts with Wood Rogers, if you can take a moment, please.
Yeah, absolutely, Angela. Thank you. This is Philip Roberts. I'm an associate civil engineer at Wood Rogers, and I work in our land development department. For those of you who don't know, Wood Rogers provides a myriad of different consulting engineering services, including land development, transportation, water resources, environmental, and we also have planning, surveying, mapping, and the landscape architecture department. So if you ever need anything from Wood Rogers, you can always reach out to me.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate you, Philip. Philip also sits on our Associates Council that put this session together for us. And then Sam Tuttle with REY Engineers. Can you please?
Yes, thank you, Angela, and thank you, Vance and Tawny, for your guys' time and your information today. I am the marketing manager for REY Engineers. We are headquartered in historic Folsom, California, and for nearly 40 years, we have been providing private land development services, including land planning, civil engineering, surveying, mapping, and remote sensing LiDAR services. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or through our website, reyengineers.com. Thanks again, everyone, for your time today. I hope you all have a great weekend.
Great. Thank you very much to my sponsors. And if anyone needs to get in touch with our sponsors or our speakers today, I think y'all know how to get in touch with me and I will connect you to the right person. So anyway, thank you everybody for having your time with us this morning. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being a member. And that's it for today. Bye for now. We'll see y'all soon.